All right, in this video, we're going to talk about arithmetic sequences. All right, now, especially those that are non-word problems. So if you look at the screen right now, what you have is 10, 17, 24, 31, 38, 45. Now, with this sequence, you can see that you are adding 7 every single time, okay? Now, what makes and this is what we're driving at, what is called a closed form formula. What makes a closed form formula nice, per se, and that is the fact that we have this in the formula tells me directly what a number in the sequence is going to be. So, like for example, looking at the sequence, the 10 is your first term, a of 1. Your 17 is your second term, a of 2. Your third term, your fourth term, your fifth term, and lastly your sixth term, a of 6. Now let's play the what if game. What if you didn't know what your third term is? Now I know it's 24, but let's say you didn't know that. Okay, so if you were looking for your third term, here's what you would do very, very simply, especially if you're given the closed form formula. You would say, hey, I'm looking for my third term. So if I was looking for my third term, a of 3, I would take 3 and plug it in for n. So it would be 7 times 3 plus 3. 7 times 3 plus 3 gives me 24. So again, we already knew it was 24, but using the closed form formula, that automatically tells you what it is. So with the closed form formula, I don't even need to know what my sequence is. All I just need to know is what my formula is. So like for example, let's play again another what if game. So let's say we're at 45, which is your sixth term, and I go, you know what, let's just keep going. What is a of 100? Question mark. So what is a of 100? Well, again, you can easily add 7 every single time. Now, of course, I wouldn't do that because I don't have enough time to do that. So what I would do is I would use the closed form formula, and I would go, okay, I'm looking for a of 100. So I would take 100 and I would plug it in for n. So that would be 7 times 100 plus 3. When I do the math, I get 703. So my 100th term of the sequence would be 703. All right? So let's keep going. In order to in order to figure out, so I had that written down. All right, so in order to figure out how to create a closed form formula, here's the two things that you need. The first thing is your first term. All right, you always need to know what your first term is. All right. The second thing you need to find out is what is your common difference, not D, but common difference. All right. Now, this formula right here is kind of like your default setup. Okay, so this formula right here is how you would set up an equation in order to figure out the closed form formula. Okay, now first off, it says T of n, it's A of n, T of n, A of n can be interchangeable. All right, now let me show you how easy this is. Okay, so first off, question number 1, it says determine the sequence if the sequence is arithmetic. If not, find the common difference. All right, so if I'm at 35, 32, 29, 26, what am I doing every single time? I'm subtracting 3, so I would say my common difference would be negative 3. All right, for question number 2, we're at negative 3, negative 23, negative 43, negative 63. I'm subtracting 20 every single time, so that means my common difference would be negative 20. All right, question number 3, you can pretty much figure out before I even say it, negative 34, negative 64, so on and so forth, subtracting 30, and then lastly for 4, it would be negative 10. A lot of negatives on this worksheet. But let's get to creating the formula. All right, so again, I forgot to clear this out from the last page, so, or from the last class, so my bad. So what we have here is our first term and our common difference. Now, if you remember from the last slide, from the formula, you need to know your first term and common difference. So this is actually going to be pretty simple because I'm basically just handing you the first term and the common difference. So here's what you would do. You would say, okay, I know my first term and common difference, so my formula would be a of n something plus something n minus 1. Remember, your first something is your first term, your second something is your common difference. So I would simply plug it in. So my first term ends up being 28, my common difference ends up being 10, and I would simplify. So now we dive into algebra, and I'm going to simplify because the 10 next to this parenthesis, I'm going to distribute. And then I'm going to combine like terms, and so my formula is going to be A of n is equal to T of n plus 28, I'm sorry, plus 18. All right? Now, maybe you're thinking, okay, I blinked and I missed it. Well, let's try another one. So let's look at question number 14. We're going to stick with positive numbers for the time being. So number 14 is A of n something plus something n minus 1. Remember, you always have to use this formula, this setup every single time. Okay, so this is not one of those I can only do it sometimes. It's a have to do it all the time. Okay, my first term is 35, so I put 35 in the first blank. My common difference is 4. There we go. I'm going to distribute, and I get 35 plus 4n minus 4. When I combine like terms, my final answer is A of n, 4n plus 31. There we go. That's how easy it is. All right. Now, let's dial up the difficulty a little bit. And let's say if, I'm going to pick and choose what I want to do here. All right. So let's look at question number 17. Remember, and I'm going to keep coming back to this, what you need to know is your A of 1, which is your first term, and then you need to know what your common difference is. Notice in this question number 17, we're given our common difference, but we are not given A of 1. So A of 1, we don't know. All right, so again, using the default formula of A of n is equal to something plus something, n minus 1, okay? Now again, my common difference is already given, 8, but I don't know what my first term is, so that's going to be x. All right, so from there, I'm then going to take the information that's given to me and work backwards. All right, I'm going to take 249 and put it there. I'm going to put, see this 37 right here, and I just wrote all over it. This 37 I just circled, I'm going to put right there. So it's now going to be 249 is equal to x plus 8 times 37 minus 1. So again, using algebra, I'm then going to go and find my first term. All right. So when I do that, again, how you do algebra is totally up to you. All right, because there's some folks that skip a couple steps. So 249 is equal to x plus 8 times 36. Okay, 249 is equal to 8 plus, I believe this is 288. I think that's the case, but of course, if I guess, I'm going to get it wrong. All right, I'm right. So then I'm going to subtract 288, and my first term x ends up being, so 249 minus 288, negative 39. Okay, so now I know my first term, and I know what my common difference is. So I'm going to go back, all the way back to my default formula, because that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for my formula here. So now I know my first term. My first term ends up being negative 39. My common difference ends up being 8. So I'm given the information, so I'm simply just going to distribute. So negative 39 plus 8n minus 8. Combine like terms. My final answer is A of n, 8n minus 47. There we go. So an is equal to 8n minus 47. All right. Now, again, you might say, I blinked. I did not see that. Well, let's try question number 23. All right, so question number 23, again, and let me just remind you once again, in order to figure, and I'm not even going to do 24, so I'm going to cross that out. A of n something plus something, n minus 1. I need to know what my first term is. I need to know what my common difference is. If you look at what I'm given, I know my first term, which is 3, but I do not know what my first term is. So I'm just going to take this, I'm just going to set this off to the side. You stay over there. All right, so I'm just going to keep that over there. All right, so here's my work. A of n is equal to first term plus something, n minus 1. So I know what my common difference is, 3, but I do not know what my first term is. Okay, but I am given my 21st term. So using my 21st term, I'm going to work backwards. So 213 goes there, 21 goes there. So 213 is equal to x plus 3, 21 minus 1. Again, solving just like algebra. 213 is equal to x plus 3 times 20. 213 is equal to x plus 60. I subtract 60, and the answer is 153. So now that I know my first term, I'm going to take it, plug it right there, and then simplify my answer. Take 3, plug it in. So that's going to be 153 plus 3n minus 3, which means my final answer is 3n plus 150. There we go. There's my formula. All right. Now, the last one that we're going to do is what happens if you are given a situation where you're not even given your first term? All right. So, again, going back to all of this, okay, going back to all of this, you need a of 1. You need your common difference. On question number 27, hopefully you can see it, you're not given anything. You're given what the 18th term is, and you're given what the 38th term is. So you need to find out what is D, okay? Now, here's how you find what is D, okay? And that is, if you remember, take the later term and subtract by the early term, all right? The second thing is to divide by, now, in the past, I said divide by the number of jumps, all right? So this should be familiar with you. Now, if it's not, then you might need to check out a video from the previous week. But since I'm not given an actual sequence, so I can't really know how many times I jumped, here's what you can do. So you can divide by n increase. All right? So let's go ahead and knock out question number 1. All right, so the later term is the 38th term, which is 7,362 minus 3,362. 7,362 minus 3,362, 4,000 even. All right. Now, divide by the n increase. Now, notice here that, let me clean this up a little bit, that this is the 38th term. This is the 18th term. Okay, hopefully you can see that. That's 38 and 18. So the n increase was 20. So all I did was I take 38 minus 18, and I got 20. So I'm going to divide 4,000 by 20, which means my common difference is going to be 200. So my common difference for this question ends up being 200. So now I know what my common difference is. So common difference, check. The next thing I need to do is find out what my first term is. So that means I'm going to have to put an x somewhere. Now you're given 2 data points. You're given the 18th term and you're given the 38th term. You've got to decide what do you want to use. Okay? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, I'm just going to go ahead and choose the 18th term. Okay? So this is very similar to what we have just done in the last couple of questions where I'm trying to find my first term. Here's my formula. A of n is equal to something plus something, n minus 1. I know what my common difference is, which is 200. I just found it. And I'm going to take 3,362, put it there, 18, put it right there. I got to find my first term. 3,362 is equal to x plus 200, sorry, 18 minus 1. 3,362 is equal to x plus 200 times 17. 3,362 is equal to x plus, I believe that ends up being 1,400. Ooh, let's see, 200. Oh, sorry, wow. Went all crazy here. That's why I checked it. 3,400. Sorry. And then when I subtract 3,400, I get my first term is equal to negative 38. So now I have my first term, and now I have my common difference. So now a of n is equal to something plus something n minus 1. So my first term ended up being negative 38. My first term ended up being 200. I'm sorry, my common difference been 200. So negative 38 plus 200 n minus 200. Combine these two things. My final answer is a of n, 200 n minus 238. And there's your final answer. So let me know if you have any questions. Thank you for tuning in and staying with me throughout this entire video. And then let me know if you have any questions. Have a good day.